United States Secretary of State has left for Vienna as part of a wider trip during which he will also visit South Korea and the Philippines. Blinken will attend a meeting of the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs in Vienna and will also participate in the Summit for Democracy in South Korean capital of Seoul next week. In Manila and other cities, the US top diplomat will also be meeting with the senior officials of respective nations. The Biden administration has condemned the attack on an ally of the late Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny that left him hospitalized in Lithuania's Vilnius. According to the police, an assailant attacked Leonid Volkov as he arrived in a car. The attacker smashed one of his car's windows, sprayed tear gas into his eyes and hit him with a hammer. Navalny's ally Volkov accused Russia's President Vladimir Putin, henchmen of the attacking that left him hospitalized. Volkov was in charge of Navalny's regional offices and election campaigns. Now, Navalny ran for mayor of Moscow in the year 2013 and sought to challenge Putin in the 2018 presidential election. Volkov left Russia several years ago under pressure from the authorities. US Vice President Kamala Harris is on her visit to Minnesota, and she toured a health clinic that offers abortion services, throwing spotlight on growing restrictions over women's rights that the Democrats believe will animate voters in November's presidential elections. The visit of a sitting vice president to such a clinic comes at a time when President Joe Biden has highlighted abortion rights as one of the key issues ahead of the 2024 elections. Kamala Harris also said that women in the country are undergoing silent suffering because of attacks on their health.
Right now in our country, we are facing a very serious health crisis, and the crisis is affecting.
In Michigan's 2021 Oxford High School shooting case, the jury has convicted the father of the teenager who shot 4 class fellows at the high school. 47-year-old James Crumley has been found guilty in trial by the court a month after his wife, Jennifer Crumley, was convicted on the charges of manslaughter. James Crumley took the responsibility that he and his wife Jennifer gave their son the gun and ignored the weapon-related warnings. As per the court's order, both James and Jennifer Crumley will be sentenced on April 9th with a penalty of up to 15 years in prison. James and Jennifer's son Ethan, who was then 15 years old, pleaded guilty of carrying out shooting at the Oxford High School with a semi-automatic handgun that killed 4 people at the school premises. The United States has imposed sanctions on a group of 3 Israeli West Bank settlers who are accused of harassing and attacking Palestinians in an attempt to pressure them to leave their land. The announcement comes at a time of increasing friction between President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose government has reacted angrily to previous sanctions. The immediate impact of the sanctions is unclear at the moment. At least 9 people and their properties have been sanctioned under a new executive order targeting West Bank settlers. Palestinian president has named Mohammad Mustafa as the Prime Minister of Palestinian Authority. Mustafa's appointment comes after mounting pressure to reform the governing body of the occupied Palestinian territories and improve its governance in West Bank. Prime Minister Mustafa was assigned to lead the relief and rebuilding of the Gaza Strip and reform the institutions of the Palestinian Authority. Mustafa replaces former Prime Minister Mohammad Shtayyeh, who along with his government resigned in the month of February. As tensions continue in the Red Sea region, Iran-affiliated Houthi militias have vowed to increase their armed offensive in the shipping lanes. Houthi leader has said that the rebel group's operations targeting vessels will escalate to prevent Israeli-linked ships from passing through the Indian Ocean towards the Cape of Good Hope. The Iran-backed militias have been attacking ships in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden since November, calling it a campaign of solidarity with Palestinians during Israel's war with Hamas inside the Gaza Strip. Months of Houthi attacks in the Red Sea have disrupted global shipping, forcing shipping firms to reroute to longer and more expensive journeys around southern Africa. Spanish Foreign Minister laid emphasis on the need for immediate ceasefire between Israel and the Hamas and also called for a stop to humanitarian catastrophe. During his visit to Cairo, he also called for a two-state solution and said that all peace efforts would be in vain without a two-state solution in the ongoing conflict. The international frustration rose over Israel's armed offensive in the Gaza Strip. He met with his Egyptian counterpart and also said that Madrid will keep supporting UNRWA. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky handed out state awards to mark the Ukrainian Volunteer Day. During the ceremony at the presidential residence, Zelensky said that Russia did not break Ukrainians. The Ukrainian president presented the state award to servicemen, including the Golden Star Orders of the Hero of Ukraine. The attendees also observed a minute of silence to remember those who have died while performing their duties. French President Emmanuel Macron said that Europe should prepare for war if it wants peace, calling President Vladimir Putin's Russia an adversary that would not stop in Ukraine if it defeated Kiev's troops in the two-year-old conflict. Macron said that it is important for Europe not to draw red lines, which would signal weakness to the Kremlin and also encourage it to push on with its invasion of Ukraine. Macron also said that France would never initiate an offensive against Russia and that Paris was not at war with Moscow, despite the fact that Russia had launched aggressive attacks against French interests in and outside France.
Il y a 2 ans, nous disions jamais.
The Election Commission of India will announce the poll dates and schedule for the 2024 general elections tomorrow at 3 p.m. local time, along with the dates of general election, dates of assembly elections for the states of Andhra Pradesh and Orissa will also be announced by the Election Commission. A total of 543 seats of the lower house of parliament will go for polls. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to embark on a visit to Bhutan next week on the invitation of his counterpart. Bhutan's Prime Minister Dasho Shering Togbe is currently in India on a 5-day visit. Now, this is the Bhutanese leader's first overseas visit since assuming office in January this year. Taking to social media platform, Prime Minister Modi said, and I'm quoting from his post, "I convey heartfelt thanks to His Majesty, the King of Bhutan and Prime Minister of Bhutan for inviting me to visit the country next week." Highlighting the importance India places on its relationship with Bhutan, Prime Minister Modi's last visit to Bhutan was in August of 2019, marked one of the early foreign engagements of his second term. The South Korean Defense Ministry said that South Korea and the United States are conducting joint air drills. 40 fighter jets, including South Korean F-35As and US's A-10s and F-16s, participated in the 5-day-long air drills from March 11th to March 15th. The drills are part of the annual Freedom Shield exercise between the South Koreans and US militaries. Meanwhile, North Korea has been condemning this exercise, calling it a practice for invasion. Australian Foreign Minister has announced that her government will restore funding to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees, also known as UNRWA. The announcement comes at a time when, after over a dozen countries halted millions of dollars of support in response to Israeli allegations against the organization. Australia also pledged an additional $2.6 million to UNICEF to provide urgent services in Gaza and a C-17 Globemaster plane to help with the US-led airdropping of humanitarian supplies. Israel had accused 12 of UNRWA's employees of participating in the October 7th Hamas attack that killed 1,200 people and took about 250 others hostage. Former US Treasury Secretary is putting together an investor group to try to buy TikTok. His comment comes shortly after the US House of Representatives passed a bill that would give the short video application's Chinese owner ByteDance about 6 months to divest the US assets or face a ban. Now, he stated that his support for the bill and said that he would arrange a bidding group to acquire the application. TikTok's CEO has made it clear that the company intends to use legal measures to prevent a ban. Italy's competition watchdog has fined TikTok nearly $11 million for an inadequate content check for young users. ByteDance owned TikTok and other social media companies, including Facebook and Instagram. Parent Meta platforms are under pressure from regulators globally to safeguard minors. TikTok is facing scrutiny from Italy's competition watchdog over videos called French Scar. It's a challenge video that involves pinching cheeks to leave a lasting bruise on the cheekbone. In response, TikTok had restricted these videos for under 18 users, but is still facing backlash over the content's impact on vulnerable groups. Just last month, Italy's communications authority had forced TikTok to remove the videos to prevent the spread of such content. New Zealand's finance minister has anticipated significantly slower economic growth in the coming years due to sluggish productivity. Recent data revisions and weaker than expected performance have led to a reassessment by Treasury officials. Despite the downturn, the government plans to boost growth in sectors like space and biomedical engineering, alongside traditional industries. The forecasted slowdown will not result in cuts to government investment. The country will release a budget policy statement soon, preceding the May 30th budget.